Boa noite and welcome to this, the 13th and final round of our championship here at Apex Online Racing, and what an occasion it is. Joining me in the box tonight is the one, the only Fizzymon. It's been a couple of weeks since we've heard from you, Fizzy. How have you been?
Been doing really good. You know, it's great to be back here in the booth one final time this season. Last week I saw that I missed some crazy action at Canada, a lot of jostling around, including KevGenX getting his first win on the season. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, it's been really good. Excited for this final round. I mean, we have officially, after last race, you know, not a new champion rather, but a back-to-back champion in the form of Jan Fehler. It's the first time in about, I don't know, at least 6 seasons since we've had back-to-back champions in the top split. Fehler able to take it home with 1 round to go, and now he comes here in Brazil at his favorite track to do a parade lap. We'll see what he can do today, so I am very excited for what we got here.
Indeed we can. Our champion is all but crowned, but there are still plenty of battles to be fought in the standings, and tonight they will be won or lost at Interlagos. Before that though, let's recap what happened at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve last week and how things stand going into tonight's race. Penalties played a massive role once again in our race standings, as the late safety car effectively made for a 7-lap sprint. KevGenX took advantage to take track position, managing to keep Jan Fehler at bay by mere tenths of a second. Matty and Crew6 both dropped out of podium contention for playing a little too loose with the track limits, and a climactic battle between F1 Racer and R-Mate in the closing stages ultimately pushed the Drivers' Championship out of reach for them and guaranteed it for Jan Fehler. Late wing damage saw Maestro Hoffy tumbling down the order, so after all was said and done, here's how the Drivers' Championship is shaping up. Reserve driver Davis moves further up the order, jumping the Borner, who retired halfway through the race. Malkian overtakes Rivershan after they crashed out into the barrier late into the race, moving up into the top 10 now. Galaxy moves within a point of Persegili, ultimately needs to beat them by 2 to win the place though, but only a point ahead of them is our 3rd place finisher last week, R-Mate. Then it's a bit of a leap to Crew6 in 7th, who took home 12 points. Gaining slightly on Matty after their penalties dropped them down to 5th, and Maestro Hoffy's late wing damage bringing them into the fray as well. 8 points further up the road and finishing their medal set with a win in Montreal is the reliably consistent KevGenX, who has propelled themselves up into 4th place. Just 1 point behind 4-time race winner Lucas. Then, sitting pretty at the top, are our 2 rivals who have locked their positions, guaranteed themselves 2nd and 1st respectively. It's F1 Racer and Jan Fehler. So major battles for 3rd, 5th and 8th tonight. But our champion can't rest on their laurels yet, because if we take a look at the constructors now, Fizzy, how is it looking over there?
It's looking very tight indeed, Tipster. We have McLaren up at the top right now with a 12-point advantage over Red Bull Racing Honda, 179 points to 167, and right behind Red Bull is the Haas F1 team with 166 points. All 3 teams with a shout of winning the constructors. Scuderia Ferrari running 4th right now, 33 points off of the top, so it's not out of reach for them to win the constructors as well, as they do have both drivers present, but 33 points over 3 teams is highly unlikely. Scuderia AlphaTauri currently in 5th, another 6 points back, followed by Aston Martin and Mercedes. So we got a very tight battle for 4th here, with only Scuderia Ferrari being the only team that can actually leapfrog up ahead because they have both drivers here today. A little farther down, we have Alfa Romeo currently in 8th, Williams in 9th, and Alpine trying to get into double-digit points on the season. We'll have to see what they can do here today, Tipster. Excuse me, but I think it will be a fun one here.
Well,
Well,
it certainly will. Battles to be won and lost in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship, and these battles will be fought and ultimately resolved, as always, down on the racetrack. And here it is, the battleground for tonight's finale. Interlagos, 36 laps around this 4.3 kilometer circuit will decide our Drivers' Championship. 15 corners, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with 2 DRS zones, one coming out of the center S and the other on the entrance to turn 15 down the home stretch, setting up for a critical passing opportunity into turn 1.
As the drivers ready up here, we got 15 drivers on the grid, so not a full grid here unfortunately, but 15 drivers is plenty for action. Tipster, who's your favorite to win today? Who do you think is going to have the best shot at winning?
Oh, it's difficult because, you see, Interlagos is one of those tracks that really feeds into your how well you flow in your driving, with kind of those flowing bends. I think we're going to see a bit of a battle up front. Ace has proven that they've got the speed. It's just that obviously they've had difficulty keeping it out of the barrier sometimes. I think Ace is certainly one to watch. Failer's going to be fairly close up front as well, from what we've seen, and I'm not ruling out Matty by any stretch of the imagination. Our Tier 2 champion from last season has well and truly shown that they can battle with the best of them over the course of this season, and they're not one to be ruled out as a late entry to our roster tonight. Lucas Eduardo dropping in, so there is a battle for third place going on tonight.
Ah man, that is going to be interesting. Lucas, I saw that he wasn't in the lobby, and so my favorite going into this race would have to have been Jan Failer. I know this is his favorite track on the game. He was flawless last season around here, and I expect him to, he hasn't won since Spa in round number 4, but he's been consistently up at the front. I think, with the championship in the bag, it's all or nothing, and I think he's going to deliver. But why Lucas joining is important is because you have to remember, the Brazilian driver, this is his home race, and from what I know from racing in the Americas, the Brazilians are lightning quick around their home track, so he's going to be one to watch for. So we'll have to wait and see. And Interlagos is a track, like you mentioned, it's got multiple DRS zones, and it is very easy to overtake around here. We're going to get plenty of wheel-to-wheel action, and while there might be some DRS trains, there's going to be a lot of overtaking, and it's going to be a very, very, very good race here. It's looking like qualifying is going to be in the dry. I see some drivers going out on softs. Actually, one driver going out on intermediate tires. What's your weather forecast looking over there, Tipster? Because Inners is very interesting.
Yes, so it's the weather centre's telling me that it's overcast with a 20% chance of rain during quali and a 20% chance of rain during the race. Jan Failer going out on the intermediates, quite an interesting decision there. I am getting no game audio. Why am I getting no game audio? There we go.
Yeah, not sure what Failer's doing on the inners. I'm not seeing any rain here, so that is not exactly good. He's just going to have to return back to the pits and put on the correct tire compound. But yeah, it looks like, a lot of drivers putting on the softs. Lucas and Kev Genetics currently fitting on the mediums. They have not left the garage just yet. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy they pull in qualifying, because soft, medium, and medium soft is the ideal strategy. Now, of course, people can throw in curveballs. But if you can do the reverse strategy and run long, if it stays green flag the whole race, you'll be lightning quick at the end. And like we said, you can definitely overtake around here. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Well, we were going to get underway with Leos, but they've pulled into the pits, weirdly. That is quite intriguing. It may be that we're not seeing the same weather that our drivers are. Baylor's just coming up to the line now. Let's see what they're doing. They're pulling into the pits as well. So it looks like Dominic is going to be our first driver to set a clean lap round here as we go on board with them.
There, Dominic coming out of the Senna S's through the long sweeping left-hander of turn number 3 into Reto Pasta, down the second DRS straight that we have on this track and into Desquita del Lago, keeping it nice in between the white lines. You got to be very close there as you come through turn 5 now through the tricky middle sector of Ferradura, through the right-hander, turn number 6, then through 7, and into the braking zone of 8. Nice and flowing portion. You don't want to lock up, don't want to make it any mistakes here as he goes into Pinarino. And And on the exit, they're short shifting up to fourth gear to keep it nice and flowing into Bico de Pato. Now on exit, he's got 2 more real corners to go. Turn 12 here of Mergulo and Junkao. Last braking zone as he goes into sector 3. It's flat out from here to the line. What kind of time does Dominic do here? It's going to be interesting to see. I'm expecting a 107 low for a good banker lap for the Alpine driver. He crosses the line here. It's going to be a 107.5. Not a bad first lap for the Alpine driver, but I do expect Cole to be well into the 106.
Yep, Garrett coming up just behind them with a 107.6. We've also got, I believe that's Matty coming up to the line now. As F1 Racer goes pole with a 106.8. We're expecting times around the 106.5 here for our pole position. As Matty goes P2 with a 106.9. Now coming across the line is our medium runner, Kev Genetics, who posts a 108.0. You've raced on this track before, Fizzy. What is it like out on... how is the grip on the mediums compared to the softs around here?
And it's surprisingly good in 1 lap pace. It's not over a second loss. It's probably only like 6-7 tenths of a second. So Kev Genetics not exactly the great lap here, but in race pace they work almost just as well as the softs. And I mean, they come into life. I mean, the softs do last a while around here, but you can make those mediums work. So the hard tires, not as much, but the gap is not as big as some of these other tracks. Because Brazil is one of those tracks where you can run mediums with the softs. You'll have really good pace here. The softs are lightning quick, like I said, but definitely don't sleep on the mediums.
Okay, thank you very much there, cameraman, for showing us a view of the pit lane whilst Rivershan goes across the line and makes a 107.3, putting them in 5th at the moment. Let's go to Leors now, who has unfortunately invalidated their lap, so we'll jump to Percy Geely here, who is just about to set their time. 50.0 through sector 2 and across the line in a low 107.0, putting them firmly in 4th for the moment. Our mate just 18 thousandths quicker than them. Also on their first lap now, as they call me Ace, who is just coming into sector 2. It looks like they're on pace to put in a competitive time here, but they've gone wide, and that's going to be a kick in the teeth for them. That looked like a really good run there on them. Leors, in fact, Fela is further ahead of them. Let's get on board with our champion. No, they've invalidated their lap, so we'll go back to Leors now, as they come through. Pinarino and Bico de Pato. I was trying to work out what the Portuguese for duck speak was then, as they come into what is essentially the final turn here before that sweeping left-hander into the DRS straight. Making good pace, and it looks like this is going to be mid 107, no, high 107, puts them in P10. Definitely more pace to find there.
Yeah, I definitely saw Leors. Looks like they lost the back end coming out of Bico de Pato. So definitely probably 2, maybe 3 tenths lost through turn 12. So there's definitely plenty of time for Leors to find on that lap. But he's got plenty of time, 11 minutes left in the session. It's a pretty short lap. You can, if you wanted to, you could probably do 4 runs around here, but I'm sure drivers are thinking, all right, let's save some tires for the race. As you can see, a handful of drivers have not set a lap time here, including our champion, Jan Fehler, who's currently going through Sector 2. He is valid this time.
Yeah, but he's quite slow through Sector 1, 18.1 through the first sector there.
Yeah, this is not a push lap, because he's going to already at 50 seconds.
Yeah, looking at They Call Me Ace as they come into the home stretch here, and it's looking like it's going to be kind of competitive. 106.7, they go pole.
That is, I would definitely say that's kind of competitive, that's for sure.
The line looked further away than it was, I'll say that much.
That is fair. That is fair. You know who is on track right now doing a lap? Kev Genetics just began his next flying lap. He's now on the soft. So our race winner from last week said his first time on the mediums was only a 108.0. So not really a good lap by his standards, I'm sure. But now he's already 2/10 up through Sector 1. But it's all going to be through the middle sector. Now, what's interesting, one thing I noticed in time trials, some of these drivers, you know, you can run lower wings or higher wings. The lower wings, I mean, you get a lot more straight line speed. It's going to help, especially in Sector 1 and Sector 3. However, I know at least in Sector 1, with running a higher wings, you get a much better run through the Senna S's. So by the time you get to the end of the sector, it's about, your time's going to be about equals. Kev Genetics is already up by almost a second through the middle sector. So that's just the tire difference there. But having those higher wings, you know, it basically is on par when it comes to the sector split time. So while you don't have the straight line speed, you get the grip through the corners. And that middle sector gives you that much more pace as Kev Genetics goes up into third with a 106.8. So much better lap by Kev Genetics this time around.
Much better lap, as I believe Matty is going to be, they're going to be pulling in here. No? They're going for it. They are a little bit down on their time. They're currently 100th behind. And they go P2. They gain some time in Sector 3 and they go second, 106.8. Just 11 thousandths of a second faster than F1 Racer. And that's the kind of margins we're talking about here, really. This is an incredibly fast circuit.
Well, another thing to look out for, the Red Bulls are 12 points behind McLaren's. Leors is a reserve driver, so it's only Jan Fehler who can do anything. And you have both Red Bulls in second and fifth right now, so that's more than 12 points, obviously, but of course Fehler has not set a lap time just yet, as F1 Racer goes quicker, but not quick enough to retake provisional pole position. So I think we have a Constructors' Championship battle on our hands with the Red Bulls. As for the Haas team, we only have Galaxy here today. Unfortunately, we do not have Maestro Hoffy, which is pretty sad to say, but it's okay here. We have Galaxy here, so Haas is looking like they're going to be eliminated from the Constructors' title unless they get really lucky here today.
Yep, and it is very tight up top. 100th separating our top two, a 10th separating our top four, basically. So, as I said, the margins for error here are tight, as Jan Fehler is setting their Sector 1 time. What are they clocking in? A 16.4.
That's fast.
It's fast, but it's about 3/10 off the pace of what we saw earlier in the session. Let's see if they can improve through Sector 2. Maybe it is those wings that are doing it for them.
No, I think that's the fastest. They call me Ace's first sector was a 16.6. So he's already got a 10th on the Alpine.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
For pole.
Quite right indeed, as they come through Bico de Pato into the last couple of corners, and this effectively 90-degree left-hander up into what essentially ends up being one of the fastest straights in F1 with the DRS open. And coming across the line now in a 106.3, they go pole by a considerable margin, 4/10 the gap almost.
That's a beautiful lap. That's what I was talking about. Jan Fehler loves this track. He is fast around here. And that first sector, that's 16.4. It doesn't really get any better than a 0.4 around here. So he did his lap up there with the best of them. And at 106.399 is a blistering fast lap. And I think it's going to be hard to beat. However, we still have Lucas and Krusix in the pits. I'm wondering if Lucas, he's got the medium strapped on, if he's going to go for a one-shot quali on the mediums, try to put it in the top 10, which is tricky. But think about this. If he's confident that he could do, say, a 106.5 on softs, you know, with a 6, 7, 10 of a second drop-off on the mediums, he'll put himself around Rivershawn, about Sphereworth. He'll be in the top 10 on the mediums. So if he's committing to the medium soft strategy, I mean, why not try to get top 10 on the mediums? Krusix, meanwhile, on the softs, currently fitted, but has gone out. Not sure what he's playing for right now, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they know something that we don't, Tipster.
Maybe indeed, as Kev Genetics sets a 16.51 through Sector 1, slightly off Fehler's pace, but still improving, so looking to go further up the board here. Whilst we were distracted, by the way, Leor's moved up into 11th, Persegili up into 6th. But we're still waiting to see what's happening with Lucas Eduardo and Crucix as Kev Genetics comes through. Pico de Pato. I keep wanting to say Pico de Gallo, and that's not correct. And I know it's not correct. As they...
I mean, if you say Pico de Gallo, I won't criticize it. I'll join in on you there. Through Pico de Gallo.
Oh, they're pulling into the pits on what seemed like a very good lap. Maybe the traffic there too much for them.
I think what happened, so he was a 10th and a half up through Sector 1. I don't know where he made a mistake, but in Sector 2 at the end of it, he lost a whole 10th. And then it sounded like he locked up through Junção and probably just, didn't get the run that he wanted. Locked up, didn't get the rotation. Probably was red coming out of the corner and said, you know what, not worth it. Return to the pits now. He will have enough time to go back on track for one more attempt, assuming he has the tires. That's the thing you got to remember. Like I said, it's a short lap. You could do multiple runs. But, if we get a late safety car where you want to put on softs, it's going to be who has those fresh tires. Now, granted, it'll probably only be 3-4% wear on some of these tires, but, every little bit might count when it comes to the end of the race when you're just trying to get a little bit of an edge on your rivals. We'll have to wait and see. They call me Ace, an F1 racer now, out on track, trying to go. They call me Ace actually coming out of Junção. He's going to start what I would assume is his final attempt here in the Alpine. DRS wide open. Can he close up the gap to Jan Fehler? But 4/10, man, he's going to have to pull a monster lap here if he would like to have a chance at pole.
Yep, and 4/10 to find. Also, Lucas Eduardo starting their first attempt here. They're just further up the road. They're going out on the mediums to begin with, a 17.0 through Sector 1, so about half a second down, and it looks like they're having trouble keeping it within the lines. There's not enough grip on those mediums to get through those Sector 2 corners. Let's go back to They Call Me Ace, who is just behind them, in fact.
So one thing to note here is on his previous lap, as he makes a little bit of a mistake out of Pico de Gallo. So he set his previous lap as he goes wide. I don't know how he kept that valid. Impressive. But he set his previous lap on 2 lap old tires. Now, the one thing about this track, he's might going to return to the pits here. No, he's going to keep going. Is that you might, if you do 2 back-to-back laps, as he does improve by 0.2 of a second, but he's still 0.2 back, because you have more than enough fuel, you could go for multiple runs. You could do an out lap, 2 hot laps, and then do an in lap. So I wouldn't be surprised if some drivers try to do that strategy, especially Lucas, who's currently way down the order. As F1 racer invalidating, so he's going to go again. He has enough fuel to go again. So watch what the Ferrari driver can do. Maybe he can put it back on the front row with his fellow countrymen.
Well, we're taking a look at Matty29 now, currently in 4th, improving through Sector 1. 16.6 through there, so slightly off pace, about a 10th off pace of the lead as they come into Pico de Pato. As much as you're trying to get me to say Pico de Gallo here. Let's see how they do in Sector 2. An improvement, but not much of an improvement, but it might be enough to push them into 3rd as they come into the final sweeping left-hander. DRS wide open as they come across the line in what looks like it's going to be a high 106. It's not enough. 106.8 still, 0.02 of a second separating them from 3rd.
You know, it's interesting, Crucix did not leave the pits, so he will not set a lap in this session. Lucas was up by 0.2 on his previous lap on it through the 1st sector and completely messed it up by invalidating, and he just messed up this lap as well. The Brazilian driver is not looking like he's going to crack into the top 10. Unfortunate for the hometown driver. Fehler, meanwhile, returns to the pits. He says, I think I have pole. I'm not going to push. F1 Racer improves a little bit to a 106.7, but that's not good enough to get pole.
Arme is coming up to the line now. They've improved by about a 10th through sectors 1 and 2. Here's where the proof is in the pudding. Dominic not that far ahead of them, and in fact, a 10th would catapult them fairly high. But somehow losing it through sector 3, only going up to 9th there. As the seconds tick away in our qualifying session.
Ooh. Persegili is almost 2/10 up through Sector 1. The Alfa Romeo driver jumped up to 6 while we were talking about the other guys. Can he put it maybe into the front row or in the up the front? Oh my gosh, he's up by almost a third of a second here. Persegili looking to possibly steal front row. Now, they call me ace. Behind him was on a hot lap, but I see a yellow flag at the end of Sector 2. Not sure what's going on there, but Persegili on a really fast lap here. He
And the
does a
checkered flag
106.
is out, so they're going to be in third. Ace is guaranteed, probably guaranteed at least second here as they're slowing down to reach the pit. Let's have a look at F1 Racer, who's coming up to the line there. Slowing down as well by the look of it, so I believe let's go to our mate who's just finishing their lap there.
No, Lucas.
They're cooling down. Sorry, Lucas.
I don't know if this will be enough, though. Only a half a second improved on his lap. Sorry for cutting you off there, but he's on the medium tires still, trying to do something, but it's not looking like it's going to be an improvement.
Well, we've got Molkian coming up behind them. It is an improvement, but it's not enough of an improvement. Molkian has invalidated their lap. Rivershan is pulling into the pit, so we've just got a couple of drivers left out on track, and I think they're finishing up. So there is our grid. Jan Failer up front with They Call Me Ace, the reserve driver, alongside. Then it's Persegili and winner last time out, Kev Genetics, in fourth. Persegili, a very strong pace out there today. Then it's F1 Racer and Matty29 on our third row. Leors and Galaxy make up our fourth row. And rounding out the top 10 is our mate and Dominic. So they're going to be forced to go on the soft tyres. Everyone else is going to have a free choice to begin with. So,
now
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing to note here, Persegili, Kev Genetics, their AIs kept driving around. I don't know if Kev Genetics set his best lap time on his final lap, but because the AI kept driving around the track, he did. Okay, so because they set their best lap times at the checkered flag and their AI kept driving around, everyone else returned to the pits, their tires are going to have an extra 4% wear because of that AI driving around after the checkered. Everyone else returned to the pits and retired the car, so they were guaranteed the wear they had going into the pits, while they're going to get some extra wear. So that second row is going to be on a little bit more worn tires. Let's see how that affects the race.
Yep, we are getting ready for the race here. So, I mean, you've seen them out on track now, Fizzy. How do you think this race is going to go down?
Well, at first, you got Jan Failer up front. I think he's going to try to break DRS as quickly as possible. We saw They Call Me Ace. I remember from 2 weeks ago at Netherlands. He was very aggressive, so I don't think he's going to give up without a fight. But you have Persegili, Kev Genetics, F1 Racer behind, who all three of them want to get up front. They know Failer's quick. And then we're going to get some battling here. I think Failer might be able to break away. But I'm looking at the back of the grid. You have Lucas Eduardo and Krusix, who did not set a lap time there. The two of them sitting at the back of the grid. I'm curious to see how they how quickly they can work their way up towards the front, and if there's any cautions that aid or hurt their strategies. So we'll wait and see. But for now, while the drivers get their setups ready, we have a quick word from our sponsors. Our two sponsors here today are SimSok and Driver61. Don't use just any socks when driving your league or endurance races. Use socks that will give you the competitive edge. With SimSok's gripping technology, you will eliminate any issues when your feet might slip off the gas or brake, which gives you that extra 10th to 100th of a second edge over your rivals. Now, I myself have a pair of SimSoks, need to get myself another one as the grippies are falling off, but they have definitely helped a lot because I like driving in socks, and if you drive in socks and you're just using those normal socks, get SimSoks because their grips that are on the socks help with your racing. Check them out at simsok.com today. And thank you to our other sponsor, Driver61. Driver61, I first heard about him. He's got a YouTube channel that's very popular. It tells about all the technologies in racing. He also has a coaching academy, and Driver61's coaching academy has helped plenty of drivers here in AOR find a few extra tenths a lap between F1, ACC, iRacing, and more. And with the coaching academy, you can become the best driver that you can be and unlock those a little bit of extra time through the corners and areas that you don't realize you can push harder or maybe not be as aggressive in. Check them out today at driver61.com and use code AOR Driver61. I believe it's still good for a 25% off consultation session plus a free coaching session. Check them out today at driver61.com. Tipster.
Yes, so we're back down on track as our drivers get into formation and warm those tyres up ready for the race. Let's take a look at the tyre strategy at the back, though. Of course, all our 10 front runners have to start on their qualifying softs. Then we have Rivershan, Garrett, Mulkian and Krusix opting for the mediums. Lucas and Spearworth opting for the softs here. I feel like tactical decisions were made by Lucas and Krusix during qualifying there.
Yes. Apparently everything I know is useless because I thought Lucas was committing to the medium tire to start on, and so that's why he was just running laps on the mediums, and here we are, he's on the grid with softs. So we don't know anything anymore, I don't think.
No,
it's going to be a really fun race.
I think we need to tear the strategy book up and throw it out the window with Lucas. But they're lining up on the grid. Our final driver inching ever closer to back. I think they're all in position, so we are ready to go. Where are our lights? I don't see any lights, so I guess we're listening for the beeps. And off we go. So it's quite a short run into turn 1 here. Failer leading. F1 Racer getting the jump on Kev Genetics. And Persegili. And Persegili moving into 4th now.
They might go 3 wide for that battle for 4th. Lior is looking very aggressive. He's going to stay in tow behind Persegili. Kev Genetics trying to sweep around the outside of the Alfa Romeo. But it's F1 Racer who gained a ton on that start. He's up 2 positions into 3rd. We have an Alpine off in the background. That's Dominic into the wall in 16th. He completely, I don't know if there's any contact or anything there, but he was into the wall. He keeps his car out of the wall. I don't believe he's got any damage other than his tires as he keeps going. And we have Lior's out as well. What happened there?
Well, the front wing of Dominic has suffered some damage. I don't quite know what happened with Lior's there. But as we head further towards the front, there is a bit of a battle going on for 9th between Galaxy and Rivershan. Early stages of the race, so no DRS just yet. Couple of laps to go before that gets active as our drivers set their first lap times. Pirelli suggesting soft to hard. I tend to disagree as Krusix starts to make their way up the grid, trying to make a pass up the inside of Spearworth. Round the outside into turn 1. And it looks like they're side by side here with Mulkian bearing down on them from behind.
I think Krusix made a little bit of contact there for Spearworth off and probably felt a little bad about it. Backed out of it, let Spearworth take the position and carry on. But speaking of early battles and big gainers, Luke is up 7 positions. He's into 8th already, so starting on the softs, working a treat for him. Rivershan trying to keep within DRS of Galaxy behind. They're just dropping out of range. Now DRS will be enabled at the start of the next lap. And the detection point is through the Senna S, so Rivershan just has to get half a lap. He needs to get the DRS, otherwise already his race will be going backwards. We'll have to see what the Mercedes driver can do as Jan Fehler comes through 14 and 15 now to begin lap 3 out of 36, so a long way to go. As we do in the background for P11, Spearworth and Jared battling it out right now. Spearworth trying to hold up Jared. Jared got overtook Krusix. Not sure what happened to Krusix. He's lost out a little bit of time. Maybe he picked up a little bit of damage from that contact with the Haas. But Spearworth hangs on to the position for now as Rivershan now 1.4 behind Galaxy. So now we have 2 trains already. And Persegili, meanwhile, flirting with losing DRS as well.
And Spearworth looks like they've made the pass on Rivershan there. Persegili up in 4th. Just managing to cling onto the reins there by the look of it as they come through Bico de Pato. No, they're losing time, in fact. They're down to 1.1. Maybe they can get it through these last 2 corners here. Doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like they're gaining any ground. And Yeah, there is the train being cut off right there. Persegili now the neck of the bottle for Kev Genetics. Matty Lucas, who has made a storm up the grid since the race start, as Jan Failer drops into second.
They call me ace, burned a decent amount of batteries at 40% now, but Failer's going to get the DRS back. Failer actually has even less. He's only got 20%. They're going to go side by side into Disquita del Lago. Failer trying to go around the outside. Ace going very deep, leaving just enough space for each other. Still side by side. Failer's going to have the upper hand, though, on the inside line through Ferradora. They're still side by side, but Ace just cannot hang it around the outside there. Just not enough banking as he's going to fall back behind Failer. But Failer had to use a lot of his battery, a lot more than he'd liked. And now F1 Racer back into the mix right there behind them. Persegili's still 1.4 behind, thankfully, for the top three. But man, already great racing, hard racing for the lead on lap 4 out of 36. I think things are just getting started here.
Yep, and speaking of things heating up, Lucas up into 7th and right on the tail of Matty 29, who I believe is in contention in the championship for 3rd place.
Up at the front again, Failer getting overtaken by Ace going into turn number 1, but Failer's going to get the DRS back once again on They Call Me Ace. He's not using battery this time like he did previously. Will Failer go for the move? No, he settles in behind. We have a new race leader, Tipster. They Call Me Ace completing the move and making it stick for the lead here on lap number 5, as down in P6, Lucas has overtaken the 2nd Red Bull of Maddie.
Yeah, Lucas trying to cling on to their 3rd place here. Kev Genetics is the one that they need to watch, 2 positions ahead of them, and is the cork in the bottle now here, as they've made the pass on Persegili up into 4th.
I don't know if he's a cork in the bottle. Persegili was about 1.5 behind the leaders. Kev got through, and he's already got 0.8 of a second on, or Kev's got 0.8 of a second, now 0.9 on Persegili, almost a whole second. He's almost broken DRS on the Alfa Romeo, as Lewis is the first driver to pick up a time penalty here. Kev Genetics does not get DRS here, as he got within range. He's actually completely battery dumped. Is up at the front once again. Failer and Ace going side by side. Ace kind of forcing Failer to turn in a little later. His battle up front is getting very juicy, but Kev Genetics used all of his battery, just wasn't close enough to getting DRS, as Leors has retired in the pit lane. He's decided that his day is over. Behind him, battle for 5th, Lucas trying to storm past Persegili, both drivers with barely any battery, as Lucas tries to swoop around the outside, but Persegili is still there. A lot of drivers with barely any battery here early on, as Lucas takes over 5th place from Persegili. He is on the move right now, but it's going to be a battle of, can they all get DRS? Can Kev get DRS on F1 Race, or can he keep it rather? Can Lucas keep it on Kev? It is very interesting, but Persegili, definitely a cork in the bottle. Now remember, he's one of those drivers that had that slightly bit more worn tires, and I wonder if that's hurting him, because, you know, he's struggling a little bit. He's dropping back, and he's already lost DRS to Lucas.
Well, according to our scientists at Pirelli, they've got about 2 or 3 more laps on these softs before they start to go kind of off the cliff and lose their optimum performance here. So it'll be interesting to see what people do in terms of pit strategy when changing to the mediums. At least that's what we're expecting. But with Lucas Eduardo starting on the soft and having qualified on the mediums, who knows what could happen?
Who knows indeed. Speaking of the medium runners, we got a nice battle brewing for P11. Jared trying to clear Rivershawn defending hard. Both drivers with DRS, Krusik sitting behind as well. Jared trying to go up the inside, use all his battery that he can. Krusik has a look, but he backs out of it. Now he's looking there again. Makes a little bit of contact with Rivershawn, but stays down in 13th. But Jared is through up into 11th. Rivershawn down in 12th, but Spearworth not able to pull these guys as quickly as they would want, as they are now 4.5 behind that now leading train. Oh, some contact, and Krusik is around. Went to go for a late lunge on Rivershawn, but he was a day late and $1 short. He goes around. I don't know if he has any damage. Maybe some left front
there's a
end plate,
little, yeah, there's a little nick on the end plate there. It is going to cause them a little bit of trouble, but don't think it's enough for them to pit for it just yet, especially with how fast the cars go down the home stretch as opposed to the pit straight here. You're losing a reasonable amount of time by pitting.
Agreed. You are, as speaking of time and whatnot, Jan Fehler has decided it is time to retake the race lead. F1 Racer trying to follow him through. Ace didn't really have that much battery. Fehler and F1 Racer both recovered. They're going to go 3 wide for the lead here. Ace trying to hook it around the outside. F1 Racer backs out of it. The Alpine goes a little too deep, and the McLaren retakes the lead. Jan Fehler back through into the lead. F1 Racer right there had to burn a decent amount of battery, but Ace was way less on battery at the beginning of the straight at the end of lap 7. Fehler and F1 Racer both over 60%. They were able to save a couple laps. Ace was down at 30% at that straight. Meanwhile, Kevin X and now Lucas have caught back up. Both of those drivers were in the single digits going down the front straight last time. So you can save a ton of battery around here, Tipster, but you got to be careful because when people burn it, they burn it. And you don't want to be caught with no battery when people start to burn it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. Fehler trying to break DRS here on They Call Me Ace, who maybe struggling a little bit, you know, with his lower battery levels, maybe needs to save a little bit more. This has got F1 Racer breathing down his neck, and now that huge train all the way back into P9. So this race is far from over, Tipster.
Yeah, and we've seen pretty much the whole field accordion up. Everyone down to 10th within DRS range of each other now. And that seems like it's going to be a decider as we see Kev Genetics and Lucas Eduardo go side by side. Lucas Eduardo coming out the better as they come through the corner, but that looks like Kev Genetics is round.
Kev Genetics is round, and he's spun again trying to rejoin the track. He's going to have some front wing damage as well. It is heartbreak for the Mercedes driver. A little bit of wheel banging. It looks like enough space was left. Combination of, you know, I think Lucas leaving just enough space on the apex, and Kev, you know, maybe slightly understeering into the Alpha Tauri. But Kev, his tires are completely shot right now. He's struggling to keep it on the track, but he's got to be kicking himself because, you know, that is just heartbreak. You know, they're racing hard and just unfortunate contact that leads to his race being ruined. But it's only lap 9 out of 36. Plenty of time for a safety car to happen, and I would say this race is far from over. Speaking far from over, They Call Me Ace for the lead once again up the inside, similar to what we saw on lap 4 and 5. But can he hold on to it this time around? He's about equal on battery levels to Jan Fehler, but Fehler has the DRS. Both of them very low. Fehler swoops to the right-hand side, trying to go around the outside of Interlagos, and he's trying to swoop, gets a little forced off track here, but he's gonna have to burn the battery to try to stay alongside Ace, because here comes F1 Racer in the rearview mirror, the Ferrari trying to find a way through. These guys side by side, they bang wheels, both of them get a little bit loose, and Fehler with the inside line into turn number 8 will hang on to the lead as we go through Pinarino for the 10th time this race. Fehler back into the race lead once again after They Call Me Ace had a brief spell up in the front. Tipster.
Yeah, a little bit of a nose bang on They Call Me Ace from F1 Racer there as well. Doesn't seem to have caused any issues for them as they're keeping pace quite significantly, just 3/10 behind as we come into the DRS straight for what is the 10th time here. And it looks like we're going to see a repeat of what happened last lap here. They Call Me Ace using DRS to slingshot past Jan Fehler. F1 Racer trying to get a look in as well. Being a little bit cheeky there, but Lucas Eduardo coming around the outside now. It looks like it's almost 4 wide as they go down the back DRS straight and into Sector 2 here. And this is going to be a tight battle for staying on the podium for all 4 of these races right now.
I'm sorry, but are we at Interlagos or Talladega Superspeedway? These guys are going 2, 3 wide everywhere. They're banging wheels. It is insane right now up at the front. Jan Fehler still leads. F1 Racer trying to force multiple 3 wides. Look at this, Lucas going up the inside of They Call Me Ace. They bang a little bit of wheels side by side. Lucas trying to hang it around the outside of Mergulo as he tries to get the podium positions, but Ace is having none of that, and he forces the Brazilian to have to back out of the position and battle. But once again, here we go, lap 11, DRS enabled. The pit window will be opening up about, I would say, starting this coming lap all the way to the end of lap 18. So expect for some different strategies to play out right now. But boy, we are in for a treat here. These guys are using all of the track, and I thought they were going to go 4 wide for a second there, which would definitely end in tears, but 3 wide seems to work just fine with these guys up front.
Yeah, and once again, the field is fairly bunched up with DRS train back all the way to 9th as Crew 6 falls down the order. They've come into the pit for a wing change. It does seem like they got significant wing damage, enough that it was costing them time here, as we might have our first lap with like a leader throughout the entire lap here.
I mean, it's a bold statement, but here's another bold thing. A lot of the drivers are under 50% battery, except for one. Armate, 81%. If he's been biding his time, saving some tires in the back, you know, if he decides to go long, he could use that battery, probably overcut a couple drivers here, as he's got a ton more battery than everyone else up at the front. A lot of drivers in the teens, in the 20s. As Jan Fehler has decided he's going to go for the undercut, he's going to pit in now. Dominic picks up a 3-second time penalty down in 15th. But Baylor into the pits, also Galaxy as well. Both drivers going for the early undercut at the end of lap 12, looking to do 24 laps on the mediums, which is doable. Question is, how will everyone else respond up at the front? But now F1 Racer leading for the first time today, or is he? They call me Ace, goes for a very late move up the inside. F1 Racer gets forced wide, but he's going to hang on to the position for now. The Ferrari driver holding strong after that just very late move by Ace. Ace getting his elbows out. That definitely plays into Fehler's hands, because any battling these guys do will help him gain a little bit of extra time when he pulls this undercut off.
Yep, and, well, I spoke too soon, didn't I? Jan Fehler pulling into the pits there.
Oh, Persegili.
Persegili's
round.
Yep, and it looks like they're holding position, but at this pit stage, it's going to cost them significant. They're round again.
Yeah, Persegili, it looked like he clipped the grass going into Duck's beak, and he just lost the rear, just slid out from underneath him. Lajar is pitting up at the front. That's F1 Racer. They call me Ace and Lucas Eduardo. Persegili, meanwhile, has dropped a whole pit stop behind Jan Fehler now, so he's got to be kicking himself after that mistake. But let's keep an eye on the pit exit. Jan Fehler, where is he? Drivers stayed out are Armate and Maddie. Remember, Armate's got that battery. These guys are working together. They might be able to pull the Red Bulls. Maybe to pull a nice little overcut here off some fresher tires. Fehler is through by a mile because of the battling. F1 Racer leaving the pits. Fehler's going to have DRS broken on the Ferrari behind. He's got absolutely no battery at the moment, while these other drivers are going to come out with about 30, 50. Lucas trying to go for a move when they call my Ace on the pit exit and into turn number 4 for 8th position. But Lucas is going to back out of it. Now he's going to get his elbows out. But yes, he cannot make the move stick. Ace just gets a better run around the outside as Jared picks up a 3-second time penalty. But F1 Racer, 2.3 seconds behind Jan Fehler in what is the net race lead. However, Malkian and Rivershawn and Jared are 4 seconds up the road from Fehler. Fehler runs them down. You know, that's going to be a little bit of traffic. If Maddie and Armate can go long, because Armate is burning a ton of battery right now, as he will dive into the pits. Maddie stays out for another lap. But let's see if these guys can pull a little bit of an overcut here, as I'm not sure these guys on the old mediums are going to hold up the McLaren and everyone else up at the front, but we'll have to wait and see, as Kevchin X has disconnected from the session. I'm going to go ahead and send him back up in white Tipster.
Okay, well, Fehler manages to get past, Armate's in the pits, I should say, so moves up into 5th now, leading the pack of everybody who's taken a stop here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with our medium runners. Matty 29 on the soft, still to take a stop. And those tyres are going to be screaming 14, 15, 16 laps in after their qualifying stint. Crew 6 getting past Kev Genetics as they make their stop. And Fehler making significant ground on Malkian. 1.6 seconds last time round. Up towards the front, Rivershawn catching up to Garrett at a rate of knots as well. 3/10 throughout the last lap.
You know, what's interesting is Maddie's getting reeled in by Jared. His tires have definitely fallen off. He's at 5% battery. He's going to keep going. Maybe go for a nice long overcut. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, we're getting into puncture territory for the softs here. We think they've got about 1, maybe 2 laps left in them. As They Call Me Ace goes fastest. Lucas Eduardo says, nay, nay, fluff, fluff, and takes fastest lap of the session. And
but look at that. Ace also got through on F1 Racer. We definitely missed, at least I missed that, because Ace came out of the pits having to defend from Lucas, and now Ace storming through into 6th position, which will definitely be net P2 once the driver's up ahead pit. But again, I'm definitely curious to see, will Malkin, will Rivershawn, will Jared, these guys on their old mediums, will they put up a fight if Failer catches them before they pit? Because they're probably going to pit around lap 20 to lap 22, I would have to assume. Well, to get the best out of those softs.
Well, they call me Ace, actually 8/10 faster than Failer last time round, who themselves is 1.2 seconds faster than Malkin. So he's going to... Failer's not only going to contend with Malkin as traffic here, but Ace coming up behind them quite rapidly as Matty29 starts to get in the danger zone with those tyres. Really needs to consider pitting here. It's probably going to be this time round. If they start pushing it further, it's going to be... I feel like we might be into puncture territory right now.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I know Spearworth right now is probably where he's going to come out. Closer to where the Haas driver is, but if something happens, he's still driving clean here. We got some drivers, some old medium runners who are now going to hold up Failer, who is stuck behind Malkin. He's caught the back of the 3 cars that have not pitted yet, and that will be running a little bit longer. So maybe that was his plan. Maybe hope these guys get held up. Which bold move, but not sure if it will work out. We'll have to wait and see, but Matty29 going long. He will have a nice tire advantage, though, because those fresher mediums will give them probably a 10th or 2 a lap more advantage on everyone who pitted a few laps earlier. But I don't think it's going to be enough for him to, charge back up towards the front. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what the Italian has in his bag of tricks, because right now he will jump Maester Hoffy in the championship, and right now he could maybe even pick off Kev Genetics for 4th, as Lucas should be able to pull away for 3rd as it stands.
So Jan Failer now looking to make the pass on Malkin up the inside of turn 1. Very easy going. 1.5 seconds faster last lap alone. Just has the pure pace to get past.
But look at this. Ace is in DRS range of Malkin. So Failer caught Malkin at the worst time. Ace within DRS right now. Malkin, of course, had DRS as well, so he broke it for just a second. But if Ace can get, dispatch Malkin quickly, he might just get back in Failer's DRS, because Failer is now going to get held up by Rivershawn and Jared, who are battling for position. So, there's going to be no easy overtakes here. It's going to have to all be worked for, and it's going to be a matter of who can get through the quickest, who can avoid getting held up too much here. But let's see how quickly Ace can get around Malkin. Let's see, Malkin, is he going to have DRS? He's lost it a little bit. The detection point that was out of Junko. So, will the Alpha tire driver, because remember, he's got his teammate a couple positions back, maybe play a little bit of a team game here, help his teammate out. F1 Racer getting very squirmy out of Junko. Malkin does not have DRS down the straight. They call me Ace does, and the Alpine's going to make quick work of him. Up at the front, though, Failer for P2 is going to go around the outside of Rivershawn. This is exactly what the German driver needed to clear another driver here. Maybe he can pick off Jared by the end of this DRS straight coming up. If he can do that, that would be huge. He's hitting the DRS. He's hitting the ERS. Can the McLaren driver clear the Ferrari driver at the end of the straight? He's trying to use all he can. He's going to have a look up the inside. He's not close enough to clear the Ferrari, Tipster. That is very deciding, because if he could have had 2 of these cars on old mediums between him and his nearest rival and clean air, he would have been gone. But now he has to sit behind Jared for another lap, and it gives Ace the opportunity to maybe pull the 2-for-1 in 1 lap. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Well, speaking of 2-for-1s, Lucas Eduardo moves up into P5 after getting it over on F1 Racer and Malkin whilst we were watching up the front there. Failer is now well and truly on the tail of Garrett, but they call me Ace is within DRS range. Rivershawn is within DRS range. Failer, on pure pace alone here, not even on DRS, manages to get past Garrett. They call me Ace. Going around the outside, and it is going to be tight as they go into turn 1. They're side by side.
Ace went around the outside of Rivershawn through Mergulio and had the position going into Junko. By pulling that move now, he's got DRS on Jan Failer, and he has a shot at, keeping with the German driver. He can maybe save a little bit of battery here. Lucas Eduardo, meanwhile, stuck behind Rivershawn. That is huge. He should have made that move on one of those 2 straights. But now there's 2 cars between Ace And Eduardo, this could be crucial. This might have just turned into a two-horse race for the win here, because Lucas is going to have to dispatch these two slower cars who are probably going to lose DRS to Ace by the end of this lap.
Yeah, well, all I can say is Ace is 1.2 seconds faster than the cars behind, so we are looking at that completely being cut off. That safety rope for Lucas Eduardo being cut off by the end of this next lap here, as they come into the last turn here and into the DRS zone. They have got DRS on Garrett. Garrett doesn't look like they've got DRS on They Call Me Ace. They Call Me Ace makes the pass up the inside of Jan Fehler going into turn 1, as Lucas Eduardo manages to make a swift dispatch of Garrett there, and just outside of DRS range. 2 tenths back as Fehler and They Call Me Ace battle for the lead once again.
Now here's what I would do if I'm Fehler. I would sit behind Ace and just wait. You know, right now Lucas doesn't have DRS. If you battle, you're going to give Lucas DRS, and you're going to give F1 Racer DRS, because I don't see how Jarrett's going to hold up his teammate here. You know, he knows that F1 Racer is going to be battling for the lead. I expect him to make this pretty easy for him, for his teammate. We'll wait and see if that actually does happen, because right now F1 Racer getting held up royally by his teammate, now losing DRS, so maybe there is no team orders here from the Scuderia, which is probably annoying F1 Racer here in this final round, as he wants to have a chance at a podium, and it's slowly slipping out of his hands as Jared's now 1.3 behind. But Lucas Eduardo back in DRS range, so he can save some battery. Will Fehler go for the move here for the race lead? I don't think he's going to here. He might just sit behind. He's gaining a lot, but he's going to back out of it. I think he knows that if you want to make a move and make it stick, especially when battling They Call Me Ace, we've seen it all race long, you got to make the move going into turn number 4 here. And let's see what the McLaren does. He tucks in immediately behind the Alpine driver. Alpine defending the inside. Fehler trying to go around the outside, but not close enough this time around.
Yep, and it looks like our medium runners are starting to pull in to put on their soft. Rivershan dropping down to 10th there after pitting. So a net gain for them across the order, actually.
Yes, a net gain indeed. Meanwhile, our mate currently running 7th, pressuring Malkian, Maddie 29 in 8th. But that is not going to be enough right now. The Red Bulls will filter in 5th and 6th, which is not going to be enough to beat the McLaren team right now. They need Fehler to drop behind F1 Racer and Lucas Eduardo for them to even have a shot, and then some. Because right now, 5th and 6th, that is, what, if I'm correct, 10 and 8 points is 18 points. So that would put him clear of the 12, except Fehler right now, as it stands, is going to reel in 18 points. 25 as he goes up the inside. They Call Me Ace. Ace trying to really hook it around the outside going into turn number 1, but with Sun S's, he has to back out of it. And now he's got a Brazilian in his rearview mirrors. This is what I've been looking for all race long. We've had Ace and Fehler giving us fantastic battling, but here is the Brazilian. It's his home race. I'm sure he wants to win it. As Ace goes up the inside of Jan Fehler into the Interlagos. Now, seeing the straight line speed of Ace, I mentioned prior in the race, you know, some drivers run higher rear wing, some drivers run lower rear wing. Ace has got some serious straight line speed. I wonder if he's running lower wing, because, I mean, he just blasted past Fehler, and he still has, you know, a decent amount of battery.
Yeah, well, we currently have a 3-horse race for the lead. Lucas Eduardo, it looks like they're biding their time behind here, as F1 Racer starts to come into the fray. Actually is getting within DRS range here. As they come into the final turn, and in fact will have DRS this time round. So it's back to 4 horses in this race. They Call Me Ace, Jan Fehler, Lucas Eduardo, and F1 Racer. We could be back to the very beginning here, as Rivershan picks up a 3-second time penalty. They Call Me Ace managing to stay out in front. Fehler maybe biding their time.
No, he made a mistake. He made a mistake with his dead asses, and that's going to open the door for Lucas Eduardo. Lucas tucking in behind Fehler. Both drivers using all the battery they can. Lucas going up the inside. Does he have enough space? They're going to bang a little bit of wheels. Fehler's going to run a little bit wider, but I think Fehler's going to have more speed on the exit because he's got a little bit more battery to burn than Lucas. Yes, he has the inside line and keeps the position. But Fehler made a mistake in the center S's. I think he went a little too deep through the entry of turn 1, and it compromised his run through 2 and 3 because he slid deep out of 2 and went too far into 3 onto the curbing, and it compromised his run. Now he's still within DRS range, thankfully, but Man, that was almost horrible because, you know, you're in a DRS train. Like we have here 4 cars. You do not want to be the 3rd car, and you don't want to be the 4th car because you're going to have the hardest time overtaking the cars with DRS, while the car in 2nd, you know, you get all of the fun because the guy in front of you does not have DRS. Sorry, he has battery, does not have DRS.
Well, as they come down the home stretch for the 24th time, we're now 2/3 of the way through this race. And, you know, if you turned around to me and said, oh, you know, we've just started all over again, I'd believe you here. It's been these 4 battling throughout, through thick and thin. They call me Ace, Failer, Lucas Eduardo, and F1 Racer up towards the front. And then it's quite a significant gap back to our mate, then further back to Matty. We could get into the territory where we're seeing lapped cars and lapped traffic causing an issue for our 4 front runners here.
I don't know about that. Dominic just crossing the line now. It's got, like, you know, about half a lap of a gap. I think we'll be okay in that regard, but we'll see. You know, right now we're still running green. I hope we stay green the rest of the way, but also in the back of my head, I wouldn't mind seeing a safety car and some late race drama, because the likes of Rivershed, Jared, Malkin, albeit they are probably would still stay behind Ace, Failer, and Lucas and F1 Racer. If one came out, they're on fresh softs. They wouldn't necessarily need to pit. But here we are, end of lap 25. We have 11 laps to go as they cross the line. You know, 1/3 of the race, well, a little less than 1/3 of the race left to go. Let's look at a battery update here. They call me Ace 54%, Failer 59%, Lucas Eduardo 32%, and F1 Racer at 33%. Now, I'm going to do something knocking on real quick for these 4 drivers as well. We'll look at the warning situation. We have 2 warnings for They Call Me Ace. The first one, lap 1, might have been a collision warning. Failer has 1 warning. Lucas Eduardo has 1 warning, and F1 Racer also has 1 warning as well. They Call Me Ace, yeah, he has a collision warning from lap 1. So all 4 drivers with 1 warning to their name. Versaghili has retired, though, in the Senna S's. Could that be a safety car? It's off the track and in the wall.
Yeah, it looks like it's out of the firing line, so I don't think we're going to see a safety car here. I think the most that the race stewards are going to be asking for here is a virtual safety car, but it's been cleared fairly quickly. Not really many opportunities for a safety car here, has to be said. Something interesting to note, by the way, F1 Racer and Lucas, both 12 laps on their tyres, but F1 Racer's tyres are looking significantly less worn than Lucas's.
I think Lucas has been a little bit more racy. F1 Racer, think about it, he's just picking off easily. Lucas was really going for it to keep with the top 2 because he didn't know if you'd be able to stick with them after those cars got cleared. Meanwhile, battle for 7th, Rivershed using his soft tires to clear Spearworth. The Haas driver, both drivers with time penalties, 3-second time penalties, as Jared trying to go up the inside for P8 now as well. Nice little battle here, both drivers burning battery, gaining a little bit on Rivershed. We'll see. Oh, Spearworth goes really deep into the corner, makes contact with Rivershed, and it's going to compromise his exit. And Jared was up the inside with those soft tires, and the Ferrari driver is through. Now, it's funny, these 3 drivers all battling all have 3-second time penalties, so this is all for position, but they don't want to lose too much time battling because Malky has 3.4 behind it without a penalty.
3.4 and gaining, I might say, as well. They gained a full second over the last lap on this train of 3 cars here, so Malkian has got pace on these 3 and only needs to gain 0.2 before they're you know, taking them to the cleaners really and moving up to 7th. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Where else have we got battles going on track right now? Obviously up towards the front, our 4 front runners as they come round.
I mean, Rivershed and Jared for 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared pressuring Rivershed like crazy. I believe Rivershed is on 1 lap older tires. Yes, he is. Both drivers were battling before. Rivershed had the upper hand on Jared. Rivershed ducked in a lap earlier, but the 2 of them back together once again, battling it out. Spearworth, who's on those old mediums, got dropped rather easily. So this battle's brewing. We have Crucix and Kev Genetics battling, although Kev Genetics does not have a time penalty. Crucix does. Now up at the front, our top 4 guys, all of them just kind of sitting there saving battery. All of them at 80+%. The lowest with Lucas right now at 74%. So everyone thinking the same thing, saving battery. Even they call me Ace, who's leading it, is using a little bit of battery on exits to keep him ahead of the drivers with DRS. But he's saving battery, but he's a second off of his pace of his best lap with a 109 that time around. So everyone's saving batteries or saving battery power for the very end of this race here. I think we're going to get an absolute shootout here for the win, as we now have 8 laps to go.
And Garrett makes the pass on Rivershan for 7th down the home stretch with the assistance of DRS there. Spearworth has now dropped back. They're 2 seconds further back now, not managing to keep pace with them for some reason. Doesn't look like there's any residual damage from what we can see on our telemetry here. But as you well know, sometimes what we see isn't what the drivers see. So we'll wait to see what happens there. Up towards the front. Malkian actually moving up towards Spearworth now and is within half a second of them. I think they're going to have them this time round as they go along the main straight. Failer pulling into first ahead of They Call Me Ace. Lucas Eduardo almost alongside They Call Me Ace as they go into turn 1 there. And it's back to these 4 once again. Failer trying to pull clear. It manages to get it to half a second between them as they go into the DRS straight. And that lead is obviously going to just file down as our drivers open their rear wings and get that extra speed.
Yeah, sorry about that. There was briefly dealing with Stewart's thing, but nevertheless here, 6.5 laps to go. Failer leading the way. Spearworth and Malkian battling down for 9th position. Malkian on the fresher tire. Spearworth doing everything he can to hang on, but Malkian does have no time penalty. Spearworth does have a penalty. So this is all for, it's all just for honor and I guess, you know.
Well, you say morale. That, but Malkian has to get past Spearworth to you know, have a chance of overtaking Garrett and Rivershan here as well, because Spearworth is that far back from them that after penalties are applied, he's only moved up into 9th there. So Malkian needs that track position.
He does need it indeed. We'll have to wait and see, can he pull it in? I'm looking at the just championship standings for the teams right now. As it stands, the McLaren team will win it, but the AlphaTauri team is, you know, sneaking up in there. You got Lucas currently running up towards the front in 3rd.
They Call Me Ace has got a 3-second time penalty. That's spelling disaster for them here, as everybody else is, well, less than a second behind them. They'd be dropping down to 4th at this point.
Wow, that is, you know, just heartbreak for the Alpine driver. You know, he got 2 warnings in the last like 3 or 4 laps, and it's just, you know, it's going to cost him right here. We know Failer is really good at keeping it between the white, not one to notice penalties. Same with Lucas and F1 racers. So unfortunate for the Alpine driver, who's now really just battling. He's also got yellow fuel light, so it might be running a little low on fuel as well, as the other 3 drivers are okay on fuel. Ace might have to do a little bit of fuel saving here in order to make the checkered flag as we cross the line for 5 to go through the Senna S's. Jan Failer in currently the net race lead. He knows he just needs to sit behind Ace and he'll win this race. Now, I don't think he knows that Ace is going to be low on fuel, but nevertheless, Failer trying to hang on and win for the 3rd time this season at his favorite track.
Yep, this would be his 3rd win, wouldn't it? It's intriguing, actually, that Failer's managed to take the championship with only 2 wins to their name. But they've been severely consistent elsewhere. 2nds, 3rds. In fact, I don't think they've had a race this season where they've failed to finish in the points. So it's that consistency that has really helped them. It isn't just winning races, it's consistency across the board. Lucas Eduardo, by the way, 4 races to their name, right behind them, 6/10 back, as we go across the line into lap 33, 4 laps to go here. And as I said, it's
F1
as close as
Racer.
ever.
F1 Racer had a little bit of a look up the inside of Lucas Eduardo into turn number 1. It's caused them to drop back a little bit off of Failure. And we'll see, they're going to look like they're battling. F1 Racer, oh, gets forced into the grass. That was a late move by Lucas Eduardo as he hangs on to the position for now. F1 Racer having to back out of it, probably not too thrilled about that maneuver. Either way, they're still within DRS range of Failure up ahead. But things are starting to get a little dicey and a little aggressive here, with 3.5 laps to go up at the front.
Well, yes, tensions are running high as our drivers prepare for the checkered flag in just over 3 laps' time. And it could realistically be any of these 4 up front. They call me Ace, Failure, Lucas Eduardo, and F1 Racer. Though Ace has got it all to do, really, with that 3-second time penalty to their name. Further back, Garrett has managed to make their way through on Rivershan, and it doesn't... Molkian hasn't really made any ground on them since, so it looks like Garrett's going to be doing fairly okay and sitting in 7th at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that one throughout the race. Although Rivershan looking for looking to get a peek in there into turn 1, not managing to find it, but is now just 3/10 on the back of Garrett here.
Yes, very close indeed. Up at the front, they all have about 45 to 50% battery levels, except for They Call Me Ace. He's down to 24%. So drivers starting to use a little bit more battery. Crucix goes fastest to the 107.9.
So something I have noticed with Lucas, you said that we mentioned earlier they've been going really hard on their tyres, and they have, and they're really graining now. In fact, it looks like they could be risking puncture here. So we've got They Call Me Ace with a flashing fuel light, Lucas with a risk of a puncture, F1 Racer behind, pretty much probably timing it perfectly here, with Failure just kind of keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, keeping it between the lines. Anything could happen in these last 2 laps.
Anything could happen indeed. It's going to be a close one here. Failure probably wants to win it on track. He knows he has it in the bag with Ace having that time penalty, and Ace has really picked up his pace these last couple laps, but Failure has been saving batteries up to 60% now. And he's going to probably go for a move here on the final lap of this Grand Prix. You know, Ace doing everything he can to gain time on some of these drivers, you know, try to pull away from the likes of at least F1 Racer. It's currently 1.3 seconds ahead of that 3-second drop-off that Ace will have after the checkered flag. We'll have to wait and see if Ace can make something about it. And here we go, Failure, DRS. He's got it wide open. He's using all of his battery right now. He wants to win this race on track. He's going to go up the inside. Meanwhile, Lucas does not have DRS behind, and Jan Failure takes the lead into turn number 1. Will Ace come back at him here? This is for the lead on track. Ace still has that time penalty, but Failure's going to use all of his battery to try and pull away from Ace, who's got that blinking red light. Failure goes to defend. Ace tries to go around the outside. He's going to break very late indeed, but Failure hangs on to the inside line and to the race lead. Ace has no answers. Jan Failure tries to pull away and win here in Sao Paulo. We are on the white flag final lap. Failure through turn 8 and through Pinarino one last time as he's bided his time, made the move stick at the perfect time, and Jan Failure looking to win here in Sao Paulo for 2 seasons in a row, cap off a championship winning season. It's not looking like he's going to make any more mistakes. Junção one last time. It's flat out to the line. F1 Racer and Lucas Eduardo swapping positions. That actually gives They Call Me Ace a podium because Lucas is now farther behind. Ace getting the DRS to try to catch Jan Failure, but Failure will win as they go side by side across the line. Jan Failure wins. Ooh. F1 Racer comes home in second, and They Call Me Ace because of the battling between F1 Racer and Lucas Eduardo. They Call Me Ace is able to manage P3 and a podium here. How about that?
Well, it's a side-by-side battle for 7th as they come across the line. And I think Rivershan Rivershan just took it at the line. It was nose to nose there as they were coming across. Malkian taking 9th. Kev Genetics in 10th. And then we have Spearworth Galaxy just coming across the line now with Crucix behind in 13th. Nail-biting stuff for 7th position there. I don't quite know how Lucas ended up falling so far behind our two front runners there. A full what, 2-3 seconds back?
I think so. Him and F1 Racer battled starting on the final lap. They battled harder than what we saw Ace and Failure do. They were about 2 seconds adrift going into Pico de Pato, and I think Lucas might have lost the rear or something on an exit because F1 Racer was through and ahead going into Juncal, and I guess whatever happened, it slowed both of them up, and as a result, you know, Ace had the DRS and almost actually stole 2nd place away with that penalty. So yeah, either way, with the 3-second time penalty, Ace does come on with the podium, but Jan Failure caps off another championship winning season, comes home in 1st place for his 3rd win of the year. Actually, he was 0.003 of a second behind Ace crossing the line, so if Ace would have not had that penalty, he would have won by 0.003 of a second. But unfortunately, Failure wins here in Sao Paulo. F1 Racer 2nd. They call me Ace in 3rd. Lucas Eduardo finishing in 4th. Armate, the first of the 2 Red Bulls, in 5th. Maddie 29 in 6th. Rivershan 7th. Jared in 8th. Malkian in 9th. And Kev Genex rounding out the top 10. Good recovery drive by the Mercedes driver. Spearworth in 11th. Galaxy in 12th. Crucix in 13th, Dominic 14th, Persegili in 15th, and Liors rounding out the grid today. Tipster, who is your driver of the day?
Oh my goodness. I mean, Lucas put in an amazing performance to surge from the back all the way up to competing up at the front. I've got to say, it's difficult with how close it was between our front 4. I mean, all credit to Ace for coming out as a reserve driver and really showing these kind of seasoned main seat drivers that, you know, they shouldn't be too complacent here. Shame about the penalty, but I think I've got to give it to Ace, honestly.
So I would give it to Ace, except he had that time penalty which cost him the win. I'm going to give it to our race winner, Jan Failure. He did not put a foot wrong. He almost ran away with it when he pulled that undercut, too. That was the thing, but unfortunately, you know, a little bit of traffic held him up, brought it back in, but he played his cards perfectly. He waited, saved his battery, and deployed it at all the right times, and he was able to pressure Ace into making enough mistakes to get that penalty and also keep himself penalty-free. He ended up winning the race here, and my driver of the day has to be Jan Failure as a result.
Well, what a result indeed. Let's see if we have any interviews lined up here. Drivers congratulating Jan Failure in the driver's lounge. Well, we close off a season here. What a season it's been. Oh, it's been full of ups and downs, Fizzy. It really has.
It has, and provisional championship standings. Failure, obviously the winner. F1 Racer 2nd. Lucas hangs on to 3rd. Kev Genetics keeps 111 points. Actually, 112 points, sorry. Maddie 29 gets 110 points. So he jumps up to 5th. Hoffy has 103. Crucix does not score, so he stays down in 7th. And then behind him, it looks like Armate hangs on to 8th. He picked up a nice 10 points. Persegili and Galaxy did not score points today, so that drops it down a little bit more. Malkian picks up 2 points. Yes, of course. Yeah, it looks like so. Just a little bit of shuffling up towards the front, but other than that, not a lot of moving around here. Phenomenal race nonetheless. They call me Ace with a really good race here after having an unfortunate end, or he drove really aggressive in the Netherlands, and here he came back, showed that he's not just an aggressive driver, he is a very fast driver, and definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do in the coming seasons. But it's all Jan Failure at the end of the day, on top of the championship, and he leads McLaren to a 2nd Constructors Championship in the background. So
well,
phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff out there. Well, speaking of the standings, let's not speculate here. Let's actually get them up on the screen and have a look at the provisional standings coming out of that race. Because what a race indeed. Let's have a look. There we go. So, rounding off the season with their first podium is Ace, who moves up to 17th overall. 15 points over the course of 2 races, not to be sniffed at. Then we have the Borner, one of our... we've also got... Apologies, hold on a second. I've just realised that I've made a slight mistake, so bear with me.
Yeah. Yes, of course I can. In the meantime, how about that? We'll go ahead and bring in our champion, Jan Fehler. 3rd win on the season. You brought home the Drivers' Championship last weekend, and then you come to your favorite track here today and put on a show for us and come home on top. How are you feeling? You know, you win at your favorite track, you're the Drivers' Champion, and it was a lot of fun in the meantime. How was it?
Yeah, it was quite exhausting, let me tell you. I'm sweating like I haven't sweated before in the season. I mean, it's a bit warm in my room, you know, since we're heading towards summer, right? But man, that was stressful today. In a positive way, though. Like, usually the stress this season has been weird safety cars and weird timings of that and stuff. Today it was just straight up battling, flat out to the line all the time. It's been really, really fun today.
Yeah, it was like a really crazy race. Now, we saw, you know, you battled most of the race. They call me Ace, especially early on. Were you running like a higher downforce setup? He was running like a lower downforce setup, or was he just like really just sending it and, you know, keeping it entertaining? Because we know you played strategically, but man, he was really pressuring you there a lot. What did you notice out on track?
Yeah, I believe he's run a lower downforce setup than me, because I tend to run quite high around Brazil. Because basically my goal was to, well, I think in qualifying it's the quickest way anyway, but obviously for the race sometimes you want to go lower by a click or maybe even 2 to get that straight line speed, because once you're in the DRS train and you can just hang in there, and then obviously that's a great advantage because you have a better straight line speed, easier overtaking moves, but also you get more ERS back with lower wings. I assume that's what he did. My plan was, as you might have seen, to just run away straight forward. I basically emptied my battery right away in the first 2 laps. Made a couple mistakes, they were a bit clumsy those laps, so I couldn't really get out of DRS range. Then managed to do that with the undercut, but unfortunately I hit the traffic not quite in the sweet spots, so that enabled them to get back on me, and so yeah, we had that. Basically it was a 4-way fight till the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy fight. That undercut, it worked pretty well at first. Did you think maybe you had it in the bag, or were you concerned a little bit when you saw those cars ahead of you? Like, you know, how, like, talk us through that, because like we know that the softs can go a little longer here. I mean, but obviously they do fall off at a point, and you went for a rather aggressive undercut. Was that always the plan? And, you know, were you surprised by how far out you came ahead, or how far ahead you came out ahead of them?
Yeah, the plan was not to get undercut by anyone else, because I was, as I said, very tight on battery management, because I tried to pull away, and with that high downforce setup you don't get a lot of ERS charge back. So I was quite limited with that, and when I pitted, obviously you get some battery back, but when you undercut people, you immediately need to use all that battery again that you just got back from the pit stops, because obviously everybody else who stayed out will know, okay, he's going to undercut us, so we got to push our battery now to gain that lap time back. And then they got undercut, but they also have more battery once they come out of the pits to potentially close that gap again. But I feel like after 2 laps, Ace kind of, I guess he almost gave up. Obviously he was still pushing, but I don't think he was pushing his battery anymore. At least it looked like that from my point of view. And at that point I thought, okay, you know, I don't need to use any overtake right now. I can save whatever I can. and if he starts closing in again, I'm gonna slam the battery away again. But then, yeah, I just hit the traffic at the wrong spot, especially when it was, was it Kev and Garrett, I think? But obviously it took a bit longer, and I couldn't send it down the inside of Garrett into turn 4. I thought about it, but I was too far away, and then why take the risk then? Maybe I have a silent race when I get that move done into turn 4, but who knows? Because my battery was absolutely at 0 at that point. Would have been a fight till the end, nonetheless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was, a lot of action, a lot of strategically played, and you did come out on top, as we saw in the end. Now, how have you decided to celebrate? Is my question, because you won your favorite track. It's first win in a while too. You locked down the drivers' championship. How are we celebrating? I know you said you had a couple drinks. What are we doing? We drinking anything special, or just whatever you have?
Well, I'm always good for a couple beers. On Star Wars Day, because I'm a huge Star Wars fanboy, I always create my own drink called Jawa Juice, which I call Jawa Juice because obviously that exists in Star Wars. I might do that today for a special occasion, I usually only drink that on May the 4th, or if I go to any, Star Wars parties or whatever. But maybe today is a good day to try that as well, because I quite like it.
I think that would definitely be it. That sounds like a special drink. I'm a huge Star Wars fan too, so I might have to inquire about that recipe later if you're willing to share it. But that's really cool. So yeah, glad it's good to see that you're gonna at least celebrate, because I mean let's put it this way. Last season, I think this championship, while you won at the same point, is definitely a lot harder fought, and I would say if I was you, I'd be a lot more proud of this one, because I mean you won 2 of the first 4 races, and then after that, what got you it was just consistency. And it was, I mean, at any given time you make one mistake and all of a sudden you drop at the back, like you see at Australia and Coda. But you drove phenomenal this season and you came out on top, so congratulations from myself and Tipster. Do you have any questions you would like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. I think we covered most of the questions about the championship last week, but my goodness, edge of the seat racing out there today. How did it feel going 4 wide around some of those corners?
I was scared. I really needed a pair of fresh pants, because yeah, I was on the outside, I think, at that moment. So I just tried to get the edge going into the corner, so the guy left of me knows, well, okay, he's ahead of me, so I have to pay attention and not ram him off track. But then obviously the guy next to him wouldn't see that really, and just focus on the guy next to him. And I was really scared that something's gonna happen. But I have to say, props to everyone involved there. It's always been very clean and fair. Obviously, you have a bit of wheel banging here and there, a bit of netcode as well, especially when you have Lucas over from Brazil Racing. But it's never really been a problem, or I never really felt that it was unfair to anyone. And I think, even though the other guys also would have loved to win this one, I guess, I think in the end we can all say it was a fantastic battle and a great race and a lot of fun for everybody. Yeah, I sit here having won the race and say that, right? I mean, I would have been sad if I hadn't won that run, because obviously Brazil is the one I always want to win, no matter what the championship standings are.
I mean, I have one other question. I mean, you're talking about, how you're thrilled winning it. How would you, or not how, rather. Did you happen to notice that they call me Ace? If he didn't get that third time penalty, he would have beaten you by 0.003 of a second. Now, when he got that time penalty, did that change your mentality at the end of the race, or was it always, we're going to win this no matter what?
It did change my mentality, because I am quite sure that if he tries to get that removed, I can counter that by saying, you went off track there, I'm sure you didn't get a warning for that, so there's another one for you. Because I noticed him going off at the exit of 5 quite a couple times. I was surprised he didn't get a penalty yet. Also, he was struggling quite a lot in Sector 2. I don't know if he particularly went off track, probably not. But he was really struggling for grip. I also had a message with him already on Steam, and he also said he was struggling for grip out there. Had a lot of tire wear, so yeah, I'm prepared to counter that. And well, I noticed that, but no, no, I won.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was, a drag race to the finish. As cool as it would have been to see that be the finish,
that would have been quite tragic. Yeah.
It would have been tragic for you, but it would have been awesome for us viewers. So,
I guess it still was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. But either way, you did come home on top, and congratulations on another great season. I mean, you drove phenomenal. Like I said, kept it consistent. and you came home on top. So congratulations here, and congratulations for being able to cap it off the season with a brilliant win here at
Way to end it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do feel proud of myself, but also of the league, because I think all in all, from an organizational point of view, if that makes sense, you know what I'm trying to say. I think it's been a really smooth season, especially for Split 1. So you know, if any drivers listening, well done, guys. You've made my job quite easy, as you did Fizzy in the background, as you did Tipster with the commentating and everything being up to date. Yeah, so thank you to everybody. It's been a blast again.
Thanks so much to all our drivers, actually, for making it such an entertaining season to commentate on. Because, you know, if there's no action to commentate on track, it's very difficult to keep it going for an entire round.
Yes.
Well, Jan Fehler, Season 23 champion, retains their crown. I assume we're going to see you back for Season 24 when things are a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely keep going. You know, I hope I'm quick enough for Split 1. We'll see. The new game. But yeah, I'll be back.
Congratulations once again, Jan Fehler, everybody. I believe we have one more person lined up for an interview, and that is someone who.
It's Galaxy.
Yeah, it's Galaxy. It's someone who didn't score out there tonight, but has had, you know, a reasonably good season all round. Galaxy. What can I say? It didn't entirely go your way tonight, but the season as a whole, my goodness, it's been tight between you and Persegili throughout, and you finished top 10. Was that what you were expecting going into this?
I think after the first races, I would like to got something more, but the second part of the season just was garbage, complete garbage. I didn't have the pace at all, and yeah, I'll take top 10 in the end.
Now, when you say you didn't have the pace, would you say that was down to just, you know, you doing the best you could and it wasn't enough, or are you know, one of the drivers who's like, you know, I don't have as much time to practice, and you know, we're gonna do what we can and see how it goes, or was it a combination?
I guess it was a combination of both. I didn't have so much time because of work and all stuff out there, and also the motivation went down since we are not too far away from the Formula 1 game, and the pace at all wasn't good. Don't know why, but hopefully in the next game it will be better again.
Well, speaking of the new game, hopefully we'll be seeing you next season. Been absolutely lovely to see you drive. Is there anything you're going to do between now and then to kind of brush up and you know, come back stronger than ever?
Take some recovery time, I guess. So practicing nearly every week is also hard, and to find the time. And I guess it's also good to just take time and recover and come back stronger again.
I mean, let's put it this way, in terms of comparing last season to this season. So while this season, you know, like you said, didn't really go too well. Last season, you had 50 points, came home in 12th. This season, it showed improvement. You only ended with 63, unfortunately, but it's 13 points up, 2 positions improved. So at that kind of trend, you know, anything can happen. So I think, you know, there's a lot to look forward to. And yeah, you had a couple, you know, some rough patches through the season, but you did have a podium. You did have multiple top 5s. I think, you know, it's definitely looking up for you. And yeah, I asked the question prior about whole motivation and whatnot was because, I know there's a lot of people out there, including myself, who feel the same way with this game, sometimes don't want to practice, and, it makes sense. But I think when you look at the comparison, because I remember you at the end of for most of last season, you were really struggling. I remember at the end you got some good races in, and you carried that momentum not only into this season, but you showed times throughout. So I think as a whole, you did phenomenal this season. Of course, yeah, I'm sure we would have all loved for you to have done better, but I think it is definitely an improvement, to say the least, considering all of what you just said. So good job in that regard, and I think there's definitely brighter patches ahead. I think you definitely still have your best races to come.
Thank you. And also thank you to both of you or the whole commentating team for doing the whole season with us and doing the interviews and the whole stuff.
Of course, I mean, it's a lot of fun. That's why we do it, right,
Yeah,
Tipster?
exactly. Thank you for providing us with action. Thank you and all the drivers for, making our jobs easier. It has to be said.
We're doing our best, I guess.
Well, it's that thing of, I don't know, did you feel that this season was compared, because we mentioned last season, how do you think this season compared in terms of the competition to last season? Do you think it was tougher out there? Because I certainly did, looking back at it, to be fair.
I also would say it was more tough to end up on top, because I think we had many different race winners. Of course, Jan was still on top of all, but I guess many of us had the pace to win a race, and yeah, there was not that much time between every driver. I like last season, I think there were bigger gaps.
Yeah, I mean, 7 race winners for the season, very impressive. Through all of that, something cool to note. Your average position gain from your qualifying to finishing position was exactly 3 positions average. That was one of the highest ones for, I'd say, qualified drivers. And when I say qualified drivers, I mean drivers who didn't just do like 1 or 2 races. So very good progress through every race. So while it seems like a starting point is definitely the qualifying, but the fact that you're one of those drivers is able to gain positions throughout every race, I mean, good job on that. I mean, definitely one of the better stats to hear. So yeah, I think that's a cool thing to share as well that I just saw on you.
Thank you, didn't know that.
Yeah, no, yeah, you had some, it's, as you saw the competition, it's never easy, and while an up and down season did occur, I mean, gaining positions on average every race is always huge, because you got guys up front like, F1 racer Jan Failure, Captain X, these guys, barely gaining a position or losing positions on average based off of their starting positions, but, some of these other guys in the middle of the field, like Persegili losing a position in a race, Geldervan averaging losing position, Armate averaging maybe gaining 1 position in a race. So being able to work your way through the field, I mean, that's, impressive stuff. So
Yep, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So good job, congrats on the season, and yeah, we do look forward to seeing you in F1 22. Yeah, just 22. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get used to that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Whole new naming convention. Everything is, everything is changing next season. But Galaxy, I'm still going to say congratulations on a good season, because I know for myself, I could not do what you do out there, okay? I would be into the wall, I would be all over the place, I'd be flailing, things would be on fire. The fact that you're competitive in any capacity at all is amazing. So congratulations, and hopefully we hear from you more next season.
Yeah, it's in the plans.
Okay, have a good one.
See you soon.
Galaxy, everybody, 10th place finisher in the standings. And well, speaking of the standings, Busy.
Yes.
Shall we take a look at how things, after all the dust has settled, after 13 races across the season, how the standings have come to pass.
I think it is definitely good. You take us away with that on how it looks as you have the graphic.
Yeah,
and
so
I'm sitting here just wondering.
It's fine. I've posted them in the F1 comms chat as well if you want to have a look. So towards the back, 23rd place is Jean. We also had Dominic in 24th, who unfortunately failed to score a point all season, but valiant effort was up there for, like, it was up there competing for you know, most of the races there. Unfortunate with some of the DNFs. Then we have Sky Kartoffel in 22nd. Carlos, one of our reserve drivers, in 21st. HD Storm, a new driver to the bracket, who stepped in after Creepy Drive unfortunately had to retire from the season, scoring 6 points. Then Tisu, our Alpine driver, with 8. Then we have Garrett, who made a position tonight, everybody, up into 18th, Ferrari driver. Then we have, we saw them perform tonight, Ace, their first points finish, their second race with us, 15 points, pulling them up to 17th. Then it's our Williams driver, the Borner, with 18. Davis with 20. Rivershan with 29. Just 1 point shy of Malkian. And then Gelbervan, the Aston Martin driver, with 37, and one fastest lap to their name as well. Moving up to the top end of the grid now, we have Nico in the Williams with 41, and one race win to their name. Then Galaxy, who we just heard from there, 63 points, just 1 point back from Persegili, who's got the full set, by the way. A gold, a silver, a bronze, and a fastest lap on 64. Our mate with 75 takes 8th. Crew 6 just shy of the century on 99. And then a little bit of a mix-up in the standings as Maestro Hoffi drops down to 6th, staying on 103. Matty 29, last season's Tier 2 winner, really showing that they belong here. With 110, taking 5th place in their first time out in Tier 1. That is amazing going from them. Kev Genetics, who we saw some amazing racing from last week, with 112. Then we have Lucas with 4 wins to their name on 124. But our top 2, who we've known going into tonight, F1 Racer with 160, with 1 win, 1 second, and 5 thirds to the name, and a fastest lap. And then Jan Failer, 3 wins, 4 second places, 2 thirds, and 198 points. Oh, what a season! What a season! Let's see if anything has changed over in the constructors. Do you want to take this one, Fizzy?
No, I'll let you take it away, because after you present the constructors, I have a little bit of an update from F2 and F3's championships.
Okay, well, Alpine finishing in 10th on 8 points. Williams in 9th on 56. Then we have Alfa Romeo not moving tonight on 65. Aston Martin actually dropped a place tonight after Rivershan and Kev Genetics both finished in the points. And neither of the Aston Martin drivers did. So they finished the season on 136 in 7th. Mercedes move up to 6th on 141. Then it's Alpha Tauri with 4 wins to their name on 154. The Haas team, who were in contention for the top spot, finished the season on 166 in 4th. Ferrari, thanks to F1 Racer and Garrett both finishing in the points tonight, move up into 3rd. And that being not just due to F1 Racer finishing 2nd, Garrett pulling out 8th and also fastest lap point pulling them 3 points clear. Then it's Red Bull on 185, but in first place with 204 points, it's McLaren, with what can only be described as an interesting season for them, has to be said.
Interesting indeed.
Congratulations to McLaren, congratulations to Jan Fehler, congratulations to all our drivers, because honestly, to even be competing in this bracket is an achievement. So many congratulations to you. Congratulations to our viewers for staying with us this long. And Fizzy, you said you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, so little update on our F2 and F3 championships. F2 was rounded out by Luca Luzio. Apologies if I mispronounced his name. The German driver, winning 4 of the last 5 races and 5 on the season. Was able to dominate in the second half and won the championship going into the final round of the season, edging out the Italian of Max Duca. Now, we do have a little bit of drama though. Going into the final race in F3, we had 4 cars in contention to win the championship: Tudor, Magda, Ballas Beckes, and Pigeon, with 163, 151, 150, and 145 points to their names. When it was all said and done, the current champion is Pigeon, based off of race wins, 163 points after coming home in second. Tudor, currently tied, drops down into second. Ballas Beckes with 162 points, and Magda with 161. But it gets more dramatic. Ballas Beckes put in a stewards inquiry. He finished 4th. The car that finished 3rd, there's a stewards inquiry about the Williams who finished 3rd, wrecking the Ferrari driver or pushing him wide. If the stewards find the Williams guilty of a time penalty that drops him below Ballas Beckes, the Hungarian, would win the championship because he would gain a position and gain 3 points. So a lot of drama there in the F3 finale. So stay tuned on that one. But we'll hopefully get that one resolved later on tonight. But yeah, a lot of drama indeed.
Well, I think that's enough drama for all the drama I can take for tonight. Fizzy, any closing words before we round out the season?
I must say it's been an absolute blast commentating with you, Tipster. It's another season in the books. Definitely had a lot of fun. Fortunately, wasn't able to be here for every race. But yeah, it was an awesome season, and look forward to seeing what the future has. And yeah, it was an excellent time. I had a lot of fun.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to our commentary team, yourself, Fizzy, to Benny, who unfortunately we haven't heard much from this season due to personal commitments. Hopefully they'll be back with us next season. Thank you to our sponsors, to SimSok, to Driver61 for making this possible. Thank you to all of our drivers for providing us with things to commentate on, because my goodness, this job is difficult when stuff doesn't happen on track. So thank you for being out there, making it interesting. Thank you for putting yourselves out there, really, and thank you to you, our audience, for watching. That's pretty much it from us here at Apex Online Racing for tonight, for the season, and for the 2021 game. Next time you see us, it'll be new cars, a new engine, and a brand new series of challenges for our drivers to face. So can Fehler make it 3 in a row, or will the new age of F1 see a brand new champion rise to the occasion? We'll be back in a few months to find out. In the meantime though, good night and drive safe.